How you doing?
Hey, good morning, Steve.
Good morning. Welcome
I'm
to.
well.
Good, good. Glad to hear.
How are
Second
you,
day
sir?
back. Oh, thank you so much for asking, man. I
Mate? How are you,
appreciate it,
mate?
mate.
I gotta
That's
say
it. There
mate.
you
I
go.
gotta
There
learn
you
how to
go. There you go, man. I love it. I love it. I'm doing
relate to
well,
my
mate.
Irish
I'm
friends.
doing well. I'm doing really well, actually. Really good morning. Slept well. Feel good.
Good.
Energized. How do you feel? I mean, yesterday must have been a really good day. Back in the swing of things for you. You know, after a week of
Yeah, it's
malaise.
always tough.
I
It's always
know.
tough
I
to
know.
come back. But I did have a very busy day, so it went by
I'm sure.
fast
I'm
and
sure.
got back into the routine because I was forced to. It's one of those things that there's deadlines and you have to do something, you get it done.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there you
Yeah.
go, folks. Your procrastination tip of the day is avoid procrastination by having deadlines. And you have to
Set
do it. You have to do it. So there
targets,
you
set
go.
yourself goals. I love it, Mike. I love it.
All right,
So
we've solved the world's problems right there. Let's
that's it.
just end
That's
it.
it. Let's just end it now, right? Yeah. There we go.
Let's
We're
end it
done. We're
now.
good. We're good. So today we wanted to sort of have a look at a few articles. You and I sort of exchanged a couple of articles yesterday, and we wanted to run through. And it's really interesting to me, Mike, in a sense of we didn't sort of have a theme or any thinking about what we were going to share with each other, but we simply said two articles. And what really
Right.
surprised me is actually how one of each of our articles really dovetail very,
Yeah,
very nicely. It
I
was
thought the
really
same
good, and
thing.
it sort of gives us a sense of what people are thinking, and we're going to go through those various articles, and we're going to share those information so people can. And there's links in the description below, so if you want to go take a look, click on the links, look at the articles. You're going to have that information to you. But we sort of dig into that, Mike. I just did want to share one thing. I did. Released this morning a video I did with Paul McVeigh yesterday. Paul
I saw
McVeigh,
the clip on
yeah,
LinkedIn, the 2 minute
yeah,
clip.
the
Another
two
one
minute.
of your Irish friends. What a great accent he has.
No, that is a proper accent he has, right?
Yes, proper.
Compared to me, he's a great guy. This is a kid who, at 14 years old, went to Tottenham Hotspur, which is a great Premier League club, developed his career, created a mindset. His first day on the job was training with Jurgen Klinsmann, who is, the former U.S. national team coach, World Cup winner with Germany, and just this whole belief system, everything was just shot. And he's written a book. It's called No Longer the Stupid Footballer. Or
Okay.
it's the end of the stupid footballer. I should get that right, but it's great. And again, it's learning, taking those mindsets, the lessons that he learned, and how should that play to the workplace today, right? What is the work environment, and how do we need to cultivate that winning and positive mentality? So
I
it was
love
a
it.
great
I
it was
love
a
his
great
message.
chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was
Taking
really good.
responsibility, personal responsibility for ourselves. And he's very well spoken. If you can hear through the accent, I understood most of what he said. And he has a great message. So I'm looking forward to hearing the entire
Yes,
video and maybe reading
yes.
the book.
Yeah, no, it is great. It is great. He's a good guy, and it's a tough challenge. One of the things I struggled with through my career was getting people to understand me. He obviously spoke really well, and you could
Yeah.
understand him. Where me, maybe not all the time. So there we go.
Yeah.
What you say?
What's that
What
you're
you say,
saying,
Fed?
Steve?
Yeah, I saw you, man. I saw exactly where you were going. I knew you were going. All right, so here's the first article that you shared, Mike, with us yesterday, and this is it was published on Facilitate, the Return to
Right.
Work Guides, thematic analysis, and it's what I really love about this was it just provides a really easy access tool to all these guidelines, and they go through a plethora of ways in which you have to think about returning, opening the offices, getting employees back to work or back to the office. It was great. I don't know what you
Yeah.
thought.
Well, what brought my attention to it was it's written, or at least co-authored by Dr. Matthew Tucker. Do you know Matt Tucker
I don't
from
know. No.
the UK? And I had met
No.
him in Ireland last year at
Okay.
the Dublin conference in which I had my first European speaking gig and had a great conversation with him. He was on the same stage that I was on. We chatted there, and then he was on my podcast. So I can't remember the episode number, but he's an academic who studies workplace and facility management. And there's seems to be a much broader, more focused attention to the science behind workplace in
Mm,
Europe and different institutions there. So this article just gave an interesting kind of combination, having someone I know analyzing what I've also been interested in, which is these return to work programs, policies, protocols. And the focus, the takeaway for me from the article, and I'm curious to see what you took away, was a very brief overview, but the focus seems to be on the building and disinfecting buildings and cleanliness of buildings and preparing the space and all the things we need to do physically as workplace leaders, facility management professionals. And that's absolutely essential. But I think we're going to go with these next two articles we're going to talk about. We talk more about the people and the human side. And that's always been the focus of FM. And I know that that's in their minds. But when you're looking at that protocol analysis, you see a heavy emphasis on the physical building and the physical attributes of making a safe return to work. And I didn't see as much written there about people and attitudes and culture and remote work and flexible work and all those things that we're going to get into. But it's a holistic view we need to take. So I'm curious to know what your takeaways from this article
No,
were.
exactly the same. And it's sort of, if you were looking for a playbook that you could sort of unplug and plug into your workplace, it covers everything. And, not everything will be relevant to you, your company, your buildings. But in essence, it's a really good framework that you can take away and actually run with it. So it was really good. And what I love about when you start reading this content is you then get into a little burrow, you get a little hole, and you start going down this hole. And where does this hole take you? And I'm not sure if I shared this with you, but I do want to pull something up that actually where this led me to. And this is workplace wellness market. So if you take what you just said, everything about what this article is all about, and what we need to do in the workplace, and what does that wellness market look like? The growth in this wellness market is going to grow ridiculously over the next few years. So it's estimated 2018, 46 billion was what this is worth. It's going to go to 74 billion. That's crazy.
That's amazing.
That's crazy. Now,
Yeah. I'm no math guy, but that's almost double.
Apparently it's a CAGR of 6.1%, Mike. That's what the experts are telling me. So
there you go. There you go.
Yeah. So I mean, and obviously with everything we're going through with COVID, for what we have to put in place for employees, for wellness, for safely returning to the office, and also ensuring that the health plans are appropriate. This is where this market's going to be. So I thought it was just nicely that, so, as I say, we get into these tunnels and on where we get led to.
Always top of mind for me, the well-being piece, the mental health, the physical health, the challenges we faced working from home, the isolation, the inability to connect human to human and have that energy that comes from those personal interactions, and dealing with the digital wall and digital overload is something that I've been certainly mindful of. And it's something that I think I've found a good balance in these last months, but I just had another conversation recently on my live stream, and it's today's episode of the podcast, the highlight reel from that, where I had Lee Stringer, who wrote a book called The Healthy Workplace, and a physical corporate wellness coach, Kristen Sharp, who was talking about what her clients are telling her is most important. And it's really that holistic view of the person as we try to move into this new phase of dealing with COVID or living with the COVID virus during a pandemic and having to just deal with our new reality. I don't want to call it the new normal anymore. I call it's reality. Kids from home working there while you're trying to work, interrupting. In fact, our conference call was interrupted by one of Kristen's young children. So we just have to deal with it. We have to empathize with each other and show a lot of grace and understanding. But that well-being piece is so essential, especially as we begin to venture out and go back into public and face our fears of potentially facing this virus in the workplace. And, I hope it gets to the point where we don't have to worry about it. But the combination of these things, putting all the protocols in place to make us as safe as possible, but also having that mental fortitude and having the ability to show, do the things that we need to do to keep ourselves safe and comfortable and allow us to re-engage with our colleagues in the workplace is going to be something that's essential for our long-term success and health and productivity.
Yeah, and I think there's more and more of these type of products coming to the market that is really going to be, leveraging technology and allowing us, each individually and also organizations, to really optimize everything for each other, right? And it's really good. And I think the more that these technologies come to the market, the more they push themselves against each other, then the better the products become. So it should be fascinating.
I hope so.
Yeah. So So yeah, so this is where we get kind of got interesting where we come to the remote work, and I'm going to start with I'm going to start with this article that was put forward by, and I'm trying to pull up his name here as I skip between my different slides,
Yeah,
so that I can actually have the
I think
right
it was Paul
information in front of
somebody
me.
or Sean.
Sean, yeah, it's
Yes.
Sean
Okay.
Blanda, and the headline is our remote work future is going to suck. Now, no, we can talk about clickbait. We can talk about many things, but it was a really interesting perspective, I thought, and it's kind
Well
of
written.
it's kind of really counterintuitive to me reading it. I'm not sure about your perspective, but he was actually saying that there's people who are advocating for people remote working because it benefits their organizations or their technologies or their services, where I actually thought, and my interpretation or my understanding, actually would say it's the opposite. I actually think we're being more influenced by those businesses that actually benefit from people getting back to the office. But it was to your point, it was a really written article, but I find it interesting.
Yeah, what did you think of his basic principle that, listen, be careful what you wish for? You and I see the benefits of remote work. We've been remote workers. I've been full-time remote work, and you have had a flexible schedule where sometimes you do remote, sometimes you don't. But you've always been an advocate in recent months during the pandemic to say, hey, I'm in no rush to go back to the office, and you feel you're fully functional at home. What did you think of his argument that be careful what you wish for, because you're basically commoditizing yourself? I'm going to use that word. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but
I know
really,
what you
you're
mean.
especially in the technology world, knowledge workers. If you're going to just bring yourself down to being viewed by your organization, by your leaders, as what you did today, and it was essentially his argument that if we are disconnected from all those other elements of workplace, the interactions, the relationships, the spontaneous mentoring that goes on, the support you give to your colleagues, all the things that lead to creativity and innovation, that you're going to lose out on a lot of those intangibles and just be looked at as a productivity machine. At the end of the day, what did you accomplish? Yes, you're flexible, you're remote, you're free to do whatever you need to do throughout the day, but we're going to basically judge you by the output you have. And there's a danger there. Do you see that concern, that danger? And potentially then it becomes a race to the bottom of who can get things done at the cheapest cost, and therefore we all become potential victims of outsourcing. Is that something that concerns you?
It's a
And,
great point, great question, and just want to
and
give
the
you a heads
article
up.
is still up, so maybe we want
Yeah,
to
yeah,
see
yeah,
ourselves.
yeah. So, what I was going to say is just to give you a heads up, your mic's breaking up a little bit, Mike, or
Oh,
your
okay.
microphone. So just as I sort of respond to, I'll let you
I'll play around.
play around if you want to just check. So, I mean, go back to your point. It is interesting, and the concerns are real. However, is it not better that we are judged by our output? Aren't organizations simply paying for delivery or for execution, right? And therefore, is the metric that little bit better or clearer if we're being judged that way? Rather than if you're the first person in the office, you're the last person, and you sit there all day playing Scrabble or whatever it is, you know what I mean? In essence, the perception is that perhaps that's where you're playing, but actually being measured by output is actually more realistic. But there are other points that he makes, as you note in the article, about, we need to be careful what we wish for. Perspectives have shifted. There is concern that if we see colleagues who are in the office who actually are getting opportunities that perhaps we're not because we're not in the office, then we need to be careful of those things. So we do need to be conscious of some of those things as well. Yeah.
Well, how do I sound right now? Am I
Yeah,
back? Sounding
you
good?
sound better.
Okay.
Yeah. Great.
Sorry about that.
No, no, no,
But
you're
but to
fine.
your point, the other thing we have to remember, and this is something I've become much more aware of, is my own little bubble and what is happening for me during this pandemic experience, and what happens for you,
Mm-hmm.
and what is good for you and good for me, and what allows us to flourish and what doesn't, is limited to our experience. Our work from home setup, our family situation, our ability to control things, and I think what this article did was remind me that so many others have different perspectives and different challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And not the least of which is if you're younger in your career. You and I are pretty well established in our career. I feel I can pretty much demonstrate my value fairly easily because I'm in a job, in a role where I'm creating content, I'm online, I'm doing webinars, I'm creating podcasts, publishing those twice a week. There's stuff that's tangible. There's things that my leadership sees, my manager sees, and they can tell what I'm doing during my remote work experience. Whereas many others, maybe in a more supportive role, maybe younger in their career, maybe still learning, trying to learn and advance in their career. What are they missing out on, Steve? What are the big losses to that growth, that experience, the idea that you get that in that work environment, the workplace, working along side by side with more experienced colleagues, that those young folks are losing out on? That's what concerns me, and that's what the article brought to light, is that it's not just about people in your and my position, but others who have different roles, different responsibilities in different stages of their career.
It's a great point, Mike, and it's I'd echo that what conversations that I've had recently, especially with young leaders, folks who are starting out in their careers, where they're really craving that interaction with management, with leadership, for mentorship, for guidance on career development opportunities, and really trying to figure out, okay, what is the path forward if we are all remote? And what we'll figure out is, we'll see, like we have seen through the entire COVID process right up to date, is we're so resilient. We find ways and new ways of doing things, and I think all this will come to fruition. And it will be tough. It is tough, and I think leaders have to, we spoke previously about being that more empathetic, having more of those touch points, more of those just how you getting on type moments, little texts, little messages here, there, just very different approaches rather than you just see someone in the office, because we probably don't really appreciate how many of those little interactions that happen in the workplace, because it just happens because you're walking past, you're saying hello, how you doing?
Yeah.
2 seconds to just answer that really quick question or give an opinion. And we have to try and create some of those things. But yeah, I did love the perspectives, understanding the different perspectives, and it's such a challenge. And to your point, right, we do come at it from a position where we are set up at home. We can continue to work this way. We can function at a high level. Working remotely for a sustained period of time where perhaps other people may not be. So it was really good. Now with that, there is the flip side of an article that Kate actually provided.
Kate Lister.
Kate Lister, yeah. So the long and happy history of working from home. This is the New York Times article that Kate was responding to, which is kind of going the opposite of what we just discussed, in a sense of, the challenges of it isn't going to be everyone works from home or everyone's in the office, right? There is going to be this hybrid. We all know, and we sense, based on studies that have been done by many people over many years, not just during COVID, but Gallup, I think it was in 2017, their survey states that groups perform best, teams perform best when they're together for 2 or 3 days a week. And Kate goes through and sort of articulates this, but then also, notices that whenever people actually want to talk negatively about remote work, and it's always the same people they go back to, like the Yahoo, the Best Buy, the IBM experiences. There are other people who have actually done really, really well and actually really perform fantastically as a fully distributed workforce. And this is a really good sort of response to the article. And I think it's going to be really tough. And I think what, I sort of take this away and I sort of think through this, Mike, and where I sort of sit with this is, whenever everyone's in the office or everyone's working from home, that's hard in itself, right? Ensuring everything's working, everything's running, and we're able to know what people are doing and deliver products and services. But actually, when you have to create that hybrid model where people fluctuate and move back and forth, that's even harder. How do you do that? And that's sort of where this is sort of where this kid's response is sort of taking my mind when I read it.
Well, you touched on it earlier when you talked about leadership and the challenges of leaders during this time. And it reveals, doesn't it, how well we're being managed, how the organization is doing overall with its leadership. And you can get away with a lot when things are going smoothly, everything's running according to plan, and the organization's naturally moving forward, that a lot of bad managers can kind of keep their job because the system's working. But when you get thrown into a crisis like the COVID-19 situation, the massive exodus of the buildings and back to home, and then having to figure out how to lead in this unique new reality, those flaws of our leaders are easily revealed. And that's something that was important I wanted to mention from your earlier comment. But with Kate's comment, that brought me to another place that I'm very passionate about. And it's interesting when you watch the media, and we've talked about this a little bit here, but the news media has a message and has a agenda and has a bias they're trying to present, whichever organization you're getting your news from. And oftentimes that gets hidden, it's veiled. But when you see someone reporting on what you believe is your expertise or something you're very familiar with, and you see the glaring errors or the glaring bias or the manipulation of facts to push an agenda, like Kate was saying this New York Times article did, it's like, it's not all or nothing. It's not everybody in the world becomes a remote worker or everybody has to go back to the office. It's this idea, the experts in our industry, and you and I take it for granted because we talk to them all the time. We know it's a need for nuance and flexible work, and really most people to be their best selves have to have some flexibility and the ability to choose and control. And those are the things that make for productivity and effectiveness. But the media, when they have an agenda, they have a message they want to push. Oh, remote work's going to be a disaster, or whatever. They point to those examples you said, the Yahoos and the IBMs and those companies that tried remote work and were on a downward spiral, as an organization, and then panicked and had to bring everybody back. So there's always those stories. And if they want to talk about the current situation and organizations making decisions about the future workplace, they point to Facebook and Twitter, who have announced everybody's going to be remote permanently if they want to be. Well, that's just not the reality for most of us and most organizations. And it's a more nuanced, more balanced approach. And I'm hopeful that during this time, the leaders in our organizations can shine, in our workplace leaders, the consultants we rely on, the experts, the researchers that we've referenced here today. They get a voice to really help us shape policy going forward. And then to tie it in just with everything we talked about at the very beginning, your guest, the footballer who talks about, Paul, personal responsibility and being proactive and taking charge of your own role in your own career. And maybe you're not the boss in your organization, but what can you do here during this pandemic to really help your organization? Yes, but also help yourself. You'll be growing your career. You'll be advancing yourself. You'll be putting a light on the value you bring to your organization by being that person of responsibility who takes action. So it all ties together, Steve. It's a good good mix of articles, and we didn't plan it, right?
No, we didn't. It just kind of came together. It's kind of interesting because I think these are things that are obviously forefront of mind for a lot of people. We all can relate to it. We can all look at each of these articles, and we can all put ourselves, our own position, our companies into each of these different components of and sort of make an opinion on ourselves. It's actually kind of neat how it all came together. So neat.
Yeah,
neat.
I love it.
That's my Americanisms coming out. That's not
neat,
good, man. That's not good.
That's not very Irish sounding.
It's definitely not. No. I think I need to spend more time with Paul to get my accent up and spend more time talking about my family, so my accent sort of...
Have you been watching the Andy Griffith Show, the old classic, Ronnie Howard? That's neat, Dad. Gee whiz. That's swell. I love it.
That's funny. That's great. So there we go, Mike. That was a lot we got through there relatively quickly as well. It was good, man. It was good.
A little technical glitch in there, but that's Skype for you. We try to go to a different platform, but we'll make it all work.
We will.
And that was a valuable conversation for me. Got my day off to a good start as usual.
Man. My brain's
What's on the agenda for you today? You got something exciting happening?
So I'm actually I'm talking to the Boston Cornet group
Oh,
chapter.
really?
Yeah, so
Excellent.
kind of like the guest of honor. So I don't know what they're anticipating with that.
Whoa,
So
whoa. Am I
I
allowed to
know.
see this? Is this available online?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think you can register
Okay.
and go along, and I'm sure you could throw a few curveballs because there'll be a Q&A as well.
Ah,
So
now you've opened the door.
now I've opened the
Look out, my
door.
friend.
No,
Well, good
please
luck with
do.
that.
Yeah,
That's
no, I
always fun.
appreciate it.
That's always fun.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's a little intimidating when it's just you, and it's a conversation, and you just hope you add value and provide value for people. So
It is a
here's
lot
hoping.
easier. You'll do great. You'll do great. It's a lot easier to ask the questions though than it is to be the one on the spot answering them,
Oh, for
right?
sure, for sure.
You've
Yeah,
been on both sides of that, and I'd
yeah.
much rather be the one asking the questions.
Absolutely, me too. Me too.
Well, good luck. Good luck.
Thank you,
I'll
man.
try to tune in.
No, please do, man. Please do. All right. So look, thank you, Mike, and we'll chat again tomorrow, man.
Sounds good. Have a
All
good
right.
day.
Thanks.